In December of 1976, a teenage boy was walking near a river in Pennsylvania when he saw something strange wedged against the rocks below a highway bridge. It wasn't driftwood. It was a suitcase. Then another. And then a third. What authorities would soon discover inside would become one of the most haunting unsolved cases in American history. The remains of a young girl whose identity had been completely erased. No name. No missing person report. And no clear answers. For 44 years, she would be known only as Beth Doe. Until science, finally, uncovered the truth. On the morning of December 20th, 1976, temperatures hovered near freezing in Carbon County, Pennsylvania. Below the Interstate 80 bridge, the Lehigh River moved quietly, a place rarely visited, especially during winter. That's where the suitcases were found along the riverbank. They had been painted black, their handles removed, carefully placed. When authorities opened them, it was immediately clear this was not an accident, and it wasn't a recent event. Inside were human remains, packed with unusual care and intention. The victim was young, and she had been expecting a child. Investigators determined the victim was a teenage girl, likely between 14 and 18 years old. Evidence showed she had been harmed before her death. Some parts of her body were missing and were never recovered. One of the most unsettling details was discovered on her left hand, letters and numbers written in ink. Their meaning was never understood. With no identification, no matching missing persons report, and no witnesses, she was buried under a temporary name, Beth Doe. And for decades, that was all anyone knew. Throughout the late 1970s, investigators followed every possible lead. They traced the suitcases. They studied newspaper fragments found inside, dated September 26, 1976. Tips came in from across multiple states, but nothing led to her name. No family came forward. No one reported a missing pregnant teenager. Over time, Beth Doe became one of the country's most well-known cold cases, a young life that seemed to vanish without a trace. Years passed, then decades. By the early 2000s, the case was nearly forgotten, a ghost story whispered in law enforcement circles. But in 2007, investigators made a rare decision. Beth Doe's remains were exhumed. DNA was preserved, not because answers were guaranteed, but because technology was evolving. It was a gamble, a long shot. That gamble paid off years later. Using genetic genealogy, forensic experts uploaded her DNA profile to public databases. A distant match appeared. Then another. Slowly, a family tree began to form. And in March of 2021, after more than 4 decades, Beth Doe finally had her name back. She was Evelyn Colin, 15 years old, from Jersey City, New Jersey. The mystery was finally solved, or so it seemed. But uncovering her name only opened up another, more painful question. Evelyn disappeared in 1976. She was young and vulnerable, but her family never reported her missing. Why? Because shortly after she vanished, they received a letter. It claimed Evelyn had given birth, that she was safe, that she would contact them soon. The letter gave them false hope, a reason to wait. Investigators later linked that letter to her boyfriend, the person believed to be closest to her at the time. Evelyn's parents died without ever knowing what truly happened to their daughter. After Evelyn was identified, authorities moved quickly. They filed charges against Louis A. Sierra. He was believed to be the last person seen with her. For the first time in decades, justice seemed possible. The arrest brought a wave of relief to a community that had wondered about the girl in the suitcases for so long. But the case stalled. In January of 2025, the charges were dismissed. Not because of innocence, and not because of a lack of evidence, but because prosecutors could not legally prove where the crime occurred. Was it in Pennsylvania, where her body was found? Or was it in New Jersey, where she lived? That single, unanswered jurisdictional question stopped the case in its tracks. For 44 years, Evelyn Colin had no name, no voice, no justice. Today, her identity has been restored, but her story remains unfinished. She was young, she was vulnerable, and she was forgotten for far too long. Her case is a stark reminder that time can hide the truth, but it cannot erase it. Even after all these years, the fight for Evelyn continues, a story still waiting for its final chapter. Thank you for watching. If you found this story important, please consider subscribing for more content like this.